It is my pleasure to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Ms. Kathleen Fitzpatrick.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Board of Education, administrators, National Honor Society, and Ms. Gallardo for asking me to speak here this evening. It truly is an honor. I remember sitting here 13 years ago, and I remember trying to figure out where they got these alums from to come up and speak. And I think Mrs. Gallardo found me wandering towards Mrs. Polisop's journalism classroom in the high school. So she didn't have to look too far. And I was wondering what would qualify me to speak tonight. Sure, I graduated Yorktown High School. Yes, I was a member of the National Honor Society, but what was it that I would have to contribute to all the wonderful students here tonight, and what would I have to say? But I remembered that it was in these walls that I really discovered who I was. And if high school is about providing opportunities to discover what your dreams are, that's what Yorktown High School did for me. And that's why I stand here as managing editor of the North County News today. It was an award my freshman year of high school that set me on my path in journalism and in writing. My freshman English teacher, Miss Ruth Jansen, who no longer works here, but worked here for a number of years, honored me by nominating me for a Creative Writing Award. And I had never considered myself a writer, and I had never considered writing as a career. I hadn't considered anything as a career as a freshman in high school. And her confidence in me and my writing and honoring me that way made me look at it and made me think, well, maybe I could do this. And she recommended me for a class that was just starting out. It was a journalistic English class. It was a trial run that year, and I had no interest in journalism at the time. But since Ms. Jansen thought I might be good at it, I gave it a shot. And it was through that class where I met a very good mentor, amazing mentor, Mr. Bob Heinel, also worked here a number of years, who helped me develop as a writer, as a person, certainly as a journalist and as a reporter, and where I learned the skills that I still use today, and that I still pass on to my own reporters in my newsroom. So I'm honored to be here. So one of the things that I remembered wondering when I was in high school was, how do you get there? You know, you get an idea about maybe where you want to go in college and beyond, and how do you get there? As Mrs. Blair suggested, I'm going to tell a little bit about where I went and how I did. So, graduated here in '96, went to Smith College. I chose Smith College because it was a small school where I knew I'd get a lot of personal attention from teachers, and I really liked that in high school. I liked having personal relationships with my teachers. I liked in the sense that they knew my name when I walked down the hall. I could go to them for after-school help, and I didn't want to be one person in a class of 200 for a science lesson. Smith College was also the best school I got into, and I reasoned that just because there aren't boys there wasn't good enough reason not to go to that school, which turned out to be a good choice. I became involved in the newspaper immediately when I went to Smith and stayed involved my 4 years. Actually, my third year I went away to Ireland to study, and I was involved in the newspaper there as well. They have a very, very different sense of journalism there. We tell it straight here, or at least we aim to. In Ireland, everything is tongue-in-cheek, and they always, my fellow writers and reporters would make fun of me because they could tell I was an American. That's the way I wrote. After I was graduating college, I decided that I didn't want to go straight into journalism anymore, that I didn't want to go right away and work for a newspaper, that I wanted to really get out into the world and learn a bit more. I had chosen liberal arts education for a reason, and I wanted to kind of continue my education in that way. Some people would wonder why I didn't go for a journalism degree if I was so interested in journalism, but I was advised by a number of teachers to get a liberal arts education, and going to journalism school would have meant that I learned journalism. But instead, a liberal arts education gave me a well-rounded education. I learned philosophy and science and, yes, math. And I came out a lot better prepared because what it taught me was how to think. And you'd be surprised at how many people these days in the workplace can't think for themselves. So I'm very grateful to my Smith education for that. So after I graduated, I took a job in several different social justice circles. I worked as an organizer, and eventually I found my way back to working in newspapers. And I worked for, one of the other things I want to encourage you to do is don't be afraid of working really hard when you're young and you still have the energy to do it. And working for nearly nothing. That's pretty much, particularly if you're interested in a journalism career or something that, not a pharmacist, which apparently are making crazy money coming out of school these days. Don't be afraid to work hard. And my first journalism job, I worked for free. It was a monthly newspaper, and I went to work for a newspaper in the Hamptons after that and found my way back to Yorktown, which I never expected in a million years. I wanted to get as far away from Yorktown as possible when I was in high school, so it's kind of ironic. I also, when I was in high school, I had these dreams of becoming, editor of the New York Times. But I learned that what I really loved is community, and a small community where you get to know people and you get to know your neighbors. And the things that you write make a difference in people's lives. And that's why I really love my job, and that's why I love where I am today. As managing editor of the New York County News, I have an opportunity to really meet so many different wonderful people who are working in their community. And I look at all of you and I know that you'll all be giving back to your communities in the future. And I hope it's here because we need smart, talented young people in Yorktown. And it's a shame that we don't have more young people here. So I guess when it comes to advice, I would leave you guys with one of the things that I was never very good at, and I'm sure that a lot of you scholars can appreciate this. I was never very good at balance in my life, especially in high school. I was always running everywhere. I was a member of this club, that club, I was studying, I was at the newspaper, I was doing sports, I was all over the place. And one of the skills that if you can learn it now, it'll serve you really well, is finding that balance. You need to have balance with being able to meet with your family once in a while, your friends, find it now because it becomes harder and harder as you get older. And the other thing that I'd really like to encourage you to do is one of the things that you quickly throw out when you get to college is your faith. And I think that's a shame, and I'd like to guard you against that. I know when you're, whatever your faith may be, that your parents have raised you in, or maybe you're not having been raised in a faith, but having that to ground you as you go through life is really important. And, I was raised Catholic, had a lot of questions, and never really did my homework, and never really studied my faith. And so I threw it out the window for a number of years. And eventually I came back to my faith, and found after doing a lot of searching, found myself at the doors of the Catholic Church again. But I realized that had I done something different and done things differently when I was younger, probably would have saved myself a lot of heartache, and probably my family too, just because you get young and crazy in your 20s, So you party a lot and things start slipping away from you and you lose that grounding. So I encourage you all to keep your faith. And with that, I'd like to congratulate all the scholars here tonight and the parents. You both worked really hard. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Now we're going to have Stricken come up